Certainly haven't done a show since John Lynch spoke at Indianapolis. So I would really love to hear what Larry thinks of that very ominous, tepid discussion about Trey Lance from John Lynch, about Lance in particular. That was the one that raised the eyebrows the most, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, it raised my attention too. He's got to play. That's the challenge. He's the only quarterback you have. Why is it a challenge?
Why is it a challenge?
Where is the challenge? Where does the challenge lie? It begged a follow-up of like, John, why is it such a challenge? He said he's got to play. That's the biggest challenge because we've got a team that's ready to go. The implication is that he needs to play, but he's not ready to go, needs development, and we're ready to go. It almost was like I read it like the next quarterback they sign will be not like a third string guy, but more like a starter or a back or number 2 guy. And that they may trade Trey Lance in the draft lead up or on draft day. I mean, that would scare the S out of me because even if you got what I would think is a fair package, I still think Trey Lance is going to be a really, really good quarterback down the road. It might not be this year, but I think this could go down as one of the worst trades in Niner history.
Absolutely. And I think it's funny, like he still hasn't gotten a chance, Trey. And I think locally there's real heavy comparisons between Trey Lance and James Wiseman. Still, there's even less data on Trey. James Wiseman, he had more games. He played in the summer league. Trey really hasn't played. And if they trade him for like a 3rd or 4th round pick or whatever it is, and he turns out to be good, I mean, it really is the dumbest decision they've ever made. It compounds the problem. So could they trade him this offseason? Yeah, I do. I think they're so encouraged. They're so like drunk on Brock Purdy right now that they could do it. They absolutely could. And you know what? If they feel like Brock Purdy isn't going to be ready for this year and they're not confident in Trey, then they could go out and sign Ryan Tannehill. You know, they could say like, you know what? Let's stop screwing around with quarterbacks. And in that sense, you know what? The Shanahans, Kyle and Mike, never really been known for developing young quarterbacks. So maybe Kyle has some self-awareness and says, Trey, I'm not the coach for you. I'm going to trade you to Indy, and I'm going to bring in a vet because that's who I am in my nature. What do you think?
I think it's
a little late for that, huh?
Possible.
Yeah.
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
I think it's very possible. Well, because it just seems like otherwise I don't understand the whole quote from Lynch. He's ready to roll, but I mean we got a roster that's ready to roll, but he's got to play, and that's the challenge. That sounds like he's talking to another GM saying, "Hey, GM Rand Carthon, you know, if he's talking to Rand Carthon, hey Rand, kid's got to play. We love him. We love him as a kid. We love him as a prospect, but he's got to play." And you know what? Can't. That's our biggest challenge because we're ready to win now. And we just have timelines that don't jive, but we think the world of him. It's basically like saying,
"Hey, Houston,
I'm not gonna pump him up as our starter. I'm gonna say to the media exactly the same thing that I'm saying basically behind the scenes to other GMs, and then I'm just gonna probably take the best offer I can get on draft day. I mean, I that's what it sounds like to me. I mean, it doesn't sound because he could have said he could have said, hey, you know what? Brock's got this injury, and now Trey's going to actually get that window that we really need for him to, you know, get those reps with the first team. And we're really excited about what it's going to be this year. I mean, that's like a normal answer. Instead, it's like, well, you know, he's got to play, and that's the challenge. It's only a challenge if he's got to play and you're not going to let him play. Right?
Exactly.
Am I missing something here?
No, I mean,
where's the challenge?
They have the opportunity to let him play. Like it's in their control. So I'm with you. It did kind of sound like he was talking about Trey Lance in the past, and they're like, look, you know, we wanted to develop Trey the way Philly developed Jalen Hurts, but he got hurt, and we've missed 2 years, and the project is behind schedule, and now we have Brock Purdy, and we're just giving up. So you know what? We acknowledge finally that we're a bad fit for Trey Lance. He's a bad fit for us. We'll trade him to Houston. I mean, he could play forever in Houston, right? There's a lot of places he could play. And maybe there are certain teams that have 2 first-round picks this year, Detroit, Seattle, that say, instead of drafting Anthony Richardson in the top 10, maybe I could trade my later first-round pick for Trey Lance. I don't know if the Niners get a first-round pick for Trey Lance, but maybe certain teams could think of it that way. Instead of drafting one of these guys in the top 10, I could get Trey Lance later. And Trey Lance was a top 3 pick, and he's only 22. Go down like that.
And
it could happen on the first day of the league years. That way the Niners could go out and sign Ryan Tannehill. Sorry, just to finish my
I also think there's a bunch of guys who understand that Trey is not your just normal middle of the road kind of prospect as a person, that he is high level person. And that would say, the assumption is that, man, he hasn't done it to this point. His value is a fraction of what it was. I don't buy that at all. This is a very small world. Your reality becomes known all around the pro personnel world. And the reality is that Trey needs to play, and Trey's a great kid and is worth investing in. And it's still kind of a question mark at this point, but he's still a great prospect. It's not like all of a sudden he's like,
right.
Like Zach Wilson might not be a great prospect. His entire team of guys wore the t-shirt of their backup quarterback. He kind of lost the room.
Right.
Maybe he's lost the ability to lead an NFL locker room. He might be devalued, but Trey, I don't think has lost. Trey's very popular in the room with the players. I just think that I think John said it. He needs to play. And what the implication is that because they need to win, that they can't go through the bumps in the road with Trey.
Well, I mean, they're coming off 2 straight NFC Championship game appearances. I'll give him that. And the idea was entering year 3 with Trey Lance that he would have 15, 20, 25 starts under his belt, and he'd be ready to do what Jalen Hurts did last year. Well, that's not what happened. He got hurt. They messed around. They didn't handle this correctly. 4 starts in his career. They might feel like, look, I mean, if Brock's not ready, we really can't turn this team over to a de facto rookie who hasn't had success. Then that's their fault. But if that's how they feel, then trade him now, as soon as the league year starts, and draft and sign someone, the best quarterback available that they can afford, who I think would probably be Ryan Tannehill. Can fit the system, has played in play action systems before, has never had this much talent, but it's freaking Ryan Tannehill. How good is Ryan Tannehill really? He's 34 years old. I mean, is that like the Rams adding Matthew Stafford? Not really. I wouldn't say so.
Here's the other question. Just because the 49ers appear to either, I don't want to say they don't believe in Trey, because that's putting way too much importance in this oddly phrased combine speech or whatever. But if they are moved off of Trey, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're putting all their eggs in Brock's basket.
True.
They've been doing this for a while. What's going to happen with Rodgers? I just saw Saleh basically make it sound like Carr's going to the Jets. Where's Rodgers going to go?
Right.
I mean, I could definitely see the 49ers trying to go get Rodgers, because the one thing we don't know is Grant, how much urgency there is behind the scenes in Niner land on Lynch and Shanahan to climb to the top of the mountaintop with this group and get this ring. Are they all in? Are they super passionate about it? And they want to take a, big bite after Aaron Rodgers, who's and maybe give, because I could see them looking Trey's family in the face and saying, hey, guess what?
We're going to do right by you.
We're going to put you in a great spot. We're going to send you to Green Bay.
Yeah, we don't want to hold you hostage. We love you, man.
And
sorry.
we don't want to put you in some terrible outpost. Right. We're going to hand you to a respected franchise.
Minnesota.
Right there in your
Green Bay.
backyard.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then all of a sudden they can look Trey in the eye and say, you know what? It didn't work for us, but we did right by Trey and we hand delivered him. I don't even know who I wouldn't make that trade. I wouldn't trade Trey for Rodgers. That's how good I think Trey's going to be down the road. But I kind of think they would.
I think they would too. And again, we're talking about the Shanahans here. And the only time Mike and Kyle have had real success is when they inherited great quarterbacks, MVP level quarterbacks. Mike won with Steve Young and John Elway, and then messed around with a bunch of mid-level quarterbacks after that, never had the same level of success. Kyle inherited Matt Ryan, almost won a Super Bowl. If he had Aaron Rodgers, it just might work. If he had Tom Brady, it just might work. Ryan Tannehill, not quite on that level. But I think that's what Kyle needs to realize is like the reason it works with Brock is Brock is like the 22-year-old veteran. He has all the little things down. He needs
He can
no
process
development.
everything, yeah.
He needs no development. Like, that's perfect for Kyle. So if he could get Aaron Rodgers, great. If you could convince Tom Brady to come out of retirement, great. I think Matt Ryan's a little bit past his prime. I think it's enough.
No
Please,
Matt
no.
Ryan.
No Matt Ryan. I'm intrigued by Marcus Mariota, but again, if what you're saying is career, if what you're saying is correct, and they're looking for more than a backup, they're looking for like a legit starter, and they're trying to trade Trey, then it's not going to be Mariota. It's going to be someone like Tannehill.
Well,
Who would you? If they trade Trey, who's it going to be? Not.
I like Mariota more than Tannehill. I don't like Tannehill. I mean, I'm an A&M fan. I saw Tannehill as a wide receiver converted to a quarterback. He's got athletic traits, but man, I think he lost confidence in that 3-pick playoff game a couple of years ago. I don't think he's the same guy since that 3-pick playoff game. I don't think he's viewed the same in the room by the guys. I don't think they view him. I don't know. He's athletic though, and he's a good guy. He's a high character guy.
But it happens to quarterbacks. No one can look at you the same after that.
Where's Wentz going to go?
Wentz is interesting. I mean, he always plays well against the 49ers. He's not as good as he was before he tore his ACL, obviously, but holds the ball too long. I don't know. It seems like he'd be the kind of guy who'd be sailing passes over Christian McCaffrey's head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's him. He can't hit the freaking check down. Other than that, great quarterback. I don't think they'll go for him. Well, I mean, people seem to really dislike him. I know. I would still go with Mariota. I think Mariota's quick. I thought he was the player of the week against the Niners. And I know the Niners were missing guys, but the Falcons suck. They have no one. And he diced them up, and he ran for like 50 yards. He was really good in that game. So I would